everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Unraveled and Rising podcast. We're talking about difficult concepts. It's actually a continuation from our conversation last week, where Terry and I had a really kind of direct conversation after we had a little bit of a clash, and then we just hit the record button. And we're doing something very similar this week, and we're doing it because we just feel like this is the tension and the tone that's kind of happening, in the media and within communities and within friendship groups and all of these things, where we're having clashes either morally or values, and having clashes in regards to that with what's going on in the US, and it's creating tension and arguments and like Terry was saying, maybe even resentment or anything like that because of it. And we feel like, we ignore it and we just avoid it, and we just don't talk about it. And then I'm guilty of that because I don't talk about politics or anything on social media, period, because I just don't want to get involved in those conversations. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. But maybe we should talk about it and just put it, talk about the elephant in the room and just have a conversation about it. And I think, it's difficult and we should just do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just go for it, because we know other folks are having these conversations.
Or aren't.
Or not having them.
Yeah. And need to be, because when we don't, it just creates more and more division.
Well, and I think even aside from politics, I mean, I think you can even leave that out. And I think it just comes down to values.
Yeah.
And like what people believe in, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to, we don't have to agree on everything, and we can still love one another. And I still do think, in that respect, sometimes at dinner tables, we're not having those conversations. And what we were talking about on here is that it goes unsaid. And then, years down the road, you guys, it affects relationships. And then not only relationships, we hold on to this stuff and it can become a cancer. I mean, literally, it can make us sick. We can hold on to things that make us sick, and then it damages relationships, but more than anything, it damages ourselves.
Yep.
And we leave things unsaid for so long, and then Kimberly, you deal with people, and I have too, where they end up on their dying days, and they wish that they would have said things that they didn't say for years.
Yep.
And they can't get those years back.
Right.
And so, I think we've got to have those conversations, and we can say them in love, and we experience the world differently and we see things differently, but it doesn't mean that we have to hate or not agree or love each other. We can still love each other.
Absolutely. 100%.
What do you think it is too? What do you guys think it is when I feel like we have this overwhelming need to be right? And it's like we keep in argument, when we used to have healthy debate back in the day, when politicians, like as an example, used to get on a stage and debate healthily, and it wasn't like crazy where they would start attacking each other. It was just a normal conversation about the issues. I feel like we've gotten so far from that. So what is it do you think that causes, I mean, there's a little bit of emotional intelligence in there and how you deal with your emotions around these topics.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think it is that's causing?
I think it's lack of respect. I think it's people just wanting to be in control.
Yeah.
And trying to, and I have to remind myself all the time, control, keep in your lane, control what you can control. And there's things that you can't control, and that's okay, and let it go.
Well, and sometimes in these conversations, we have to go back to asking ourselves, what is it bringing up in me? Like, I feel like sometimes when I am personally, it's coming up with me, I have to remind myself, what is it bringing up in me personally? Because for me, it feels like it's an attack personally, and it's and when we're talking about it related to trauma, it's always taking me back to something that has happened in the past.
Yep.
And so it never has to do with who I'm talking with at that moment, or even the situation. It's always related to something that has happened in the past. And it could be, for me, sometimes it may be attacking my integrity. It may be attacking my worth. It may be attacking my value. So it's never what's going on in that moment. It's always attacking. It's always related to something that has been happening to me, that has happened to me in the past. So it's something around that. It's never the person in the moment, or it's never the situation at hand.
Right.
So I always have to locate, where am I right now and what is happening in the moment.
Right. And where do I feel that in my body?
Yes.
Right. So that you can release it. But again, we've talked about this before. Awareness is huge. Just knowing that
Yeah.
brings you so much further ahead of in the game.
Yeah.
It really does, because you can stop and reflect and go, okay, like you said, what is this really all about? Why am I feeling so, stuck to there? Why is this so important to me? Or why is this the hill I'm going to die on? Is this the hill I want to die on?
Yeah.
Is there really no other option? Just, different things like that.
I was going to say too, when people have a need to control or are in that headspace, what's really going on behind the scenes. Because if you have a need to control everything, there's some level of chaos in the background or in your mind or something that brings, like Terry was saying, is going back to something that happened in your past, that now you've got to have your hand. You just got to be in charge or in control, because it's going to go, everything's going to go to crap if you don't. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the need for that? It's like a safety and security thing or something, where we have to get back to control,
Well, and you're exactly right. Our brain takes us immediately. It feels like it's attacking some type of safety. And that's where that fight or flight kicks in. It goes, uh-oh, the alarm goes off, and it thinks that our safety is something's not making us feel safe here. And that's exactly when we go into that, those triggers come up. And it feels like my safety is being compromised here, when it's really not. Right. It's the feeling. When we talk about it's in the body. The body's feeling it. So the alarm system's now gone off, and it could be nothing going on. I mean, this can happen in a traffic jam, right? All of a sudden traffic has got the alarm system going off, and all of a sudden there's nothing going on but traffic, and we feel unsafe. And that's not true. So it's locating what is
sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
Well, we're not being chased by a tiger.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
But our bodies are sounding the alarms like we are.
Right.
100%. The dry mouth.
I was looking too that unpredictability and certainty.
Yes.
So, that is a big trigger too for those kinds of things, where you're just like, because things may have been unpredictable or uncertain when you were a child, or you grew up in kind of a chaotic environment. When you're older, you're like, everything's got to be in its place and in control, because I don't want that to go back to that feeling that I had when I was a kid.
And we've talked about this. This is a perfect example of a collective trauma. What's been going on in the world, this is a prime example of a collective trauma, what's been going on in the world. Just the amount of chaos of all the things going on, not just
any one thing. Yeah.
Not any one thing, just all the things going on in the world. Just the lack of the uncertainty and the lack of safety that people feel right now, with children, with just everything. There's a lack of uncertainty out there, and it causes people to feel not safe, and it causes those things to come up. So it's going on at a massive amount right now for everybody. So a lot of things are coming up for people.
Yep. I had a woman.
Go ahead, Kimberly.
I was going to say, I had a woman call me yesterday in tears, and she had been caring for these two gentlemen for the past 8 years. So she was a live-in. She'd known the one gentleman for 40 years, but somehow some gentleman managed to weasel his way in there and get his name put on the house when the last person died. So now she's literally homeless, brings in $1,100 a month total with Social Security, and was calling me to see if I could help her find anywhere to live. And I felt awful because I couldn't. Yeah. I mean, I don't, but I mean, this is just, homelessness, and just, where am I going to find my next meal? Yeah. And just, Which is
a trauma in of itself.
Yes.
When you think of the Maslow hierarchy of needs,
right?
A basic need being met is food and shelter. Yes. Yep. And when you're not getting a basic need met, that is you're not
going to reach self-actualization. I mean, that's not coming. Yeah.
That is trauma right there. Yep. When you think about it.
It is. And with what is, and I think too, staying off of social media and those platforms where people are just being really ugly to each other, which happens. And I even like I was thinking, I was watching some podcast where the people that are like the bots are out there causing issues. They're not even real people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they're just going out and commenting on people's posts in a negative way, and they're not even real.
Right.
Completely fake things. You know what I mean? And it's
And
like,
people are
what's the
getting all
point of
worked
that?
up.
That's when that's when you start to get worried about AI and robots, because it's like they're already creating issues on social media and they haven't even like taken over yet. It's like, what's happening?
That is so funny that you say that, Michelle, because my son came downstairs the other day and he was like, Mom, come here. He goes, Grandma's upstairs watching YouTube, and she was watching some political stuff, and it was AI generated, and she was like getting all worked up about it. And it was clearly, you could tell that it was AI generated. And so you imagine people that are sitting there going, I mean, you just literally, so, all the stuff that's been going on the last couple of days, I was actually really happy that I didn't have Wi-Fi for like 2 days, because she got a break from like being able to sit there and watch some of the craziness that is going on out there and just being programmed into our mind. So imagine what is being programmed into people's minds out there if we engage with it.
Yep.
And not aware that is happening.
So true. I was watching a podcast too this weekend where they go way over your head too. They're like, we're in a simulation, and some 4-year-old boy in another planet has got us in a simulation, and so it's not even real. I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. We don't need to go that far. But what do we do? Because you guys are more trauma coaches than I am. What do we do now? How do we try to engage in these conversations in a healthy way, to try to, what are our recommendations to people out there who are experiencing this right now?
Well, I think for one, we really have to know where we are emotionally and have really good awareness about our own selves. And if there's people out there, I don't hate to say this. I think we have to be aware of what conversations we're willing to engage in.
Exactly.
Because I mean, at this time, you really have to know who it is. I tell you what, over the last 2 weeks, I have unfollowed a lot of people on social media, because I think in a time like this, people are going to show who they are, and you've got to believe who they're showing who they are. Yeah. And sometimes it's just not going to be worth the energy to have that conversation, because some you're not going to win. You know what I mean? And is it really worth your peace of mind? And some people don't have the self-awareness. Some people's unconscious behavior, there is no awareness there. And some you may not, it's just better to disengage and not engage. I mean, this is the time where you're going to have to make that decision. And is your energy and peace more important than having some certain conversations? And definitely get off social media. I mean, it's great to go out there and be selective on who you're following, and give yourself a time limit. If you need to be on it, give yourself a time limit. Those would be a few of my tips for you.
Yeah.
And then always choose love over hate. I mean, there is a way of engaging with it, and those would be what I would say. What about you, Kimberly?
Well, I was going to say similar thing. It is just really monitor the amount of time that you spend there. Is that really where you want to be spending your time? And then just being very mindful about the conversations that you get engaged with. And there's a lot of them that sometimes I'm like, and I'm like, you know what? Not even going there. Just going to scroll on by. Not going to say anything, because then people just attack you anyway. Well, why are you? Well, there's something called freedom of speech. That's why I'm giving my opinion, but never mind. It's like, it just, just move on by and just don't. I've got enough going on in my life.
Yeah.
That's here, real in front of me to deal with, that I don't need to, engage in the fairy tale land of, social media.
Well, and Kimberly or Michelle, you said something about wanting to always be right. Yeah. And I spent years of my life I was that person. I had to have the last word. I wanted to be right all the time. And you know what? That only hurt me.
Yeah.
So it hurt me. It costed me relationships, and I paid the price. Nobody really cared. And when I lost those people, I was the one who suffered from my behavior. They
Yeah.
didn't. So if someone out there is thinking of, like Kimberly said, choosing to engage or react to somebody, think about what it's going to do to you.
Right.
It's going to do nothing to them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on another episode we did, but I had talked about just even, telling somebody something that happened a long time ago because you had your own guilt about it. Well, is it so for instance, I have a client right now that I am splitting up. He's staying in assisted living. She needs to move to memory care. And so he told me yesterday, he goes, I asked her and told her she had to move to memory care. And she told me that she doesn't, and this and that. And I just said to him, I said, you know what? She doesn't know. She won't remember. And causing her that fear and that anxiety is just not fair to her. I said, please don't mention it to her again. When the first comes, I will be here. We will get her very gently moved, and let's just not, accelerate this into something it doesn't need to be.
Right.
And he just kind of looked at me and he said, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, why put anxiety and fear and all of these things into somebody just because it makes you feel better, because you feel like you're validated.
Right.
Or that you're off the hook. It's just, you got to think about what you're sharing. Is it kind? Is it loving? Is it going to bring something positive, or it's going to bring somebody down? If it's going to bring them down, keep your mouth shut.
Right. Because it validates them. Exactly. And that is, you know what? That is so true. Sometimes we have to think of our intentions. And what is my intention on that? What is my intentions with this? If what I'm going to say, what is my intentions with this conversation? Is it for me? Is it self-serving, or is it going to be kind for them? And getting very clear on that, I'm telling you, it saves arguments and it preserves relationships. 100%.
Just, they always say, think about, think about it before you open your mouth. But truly, it's like, why am I going to say this? Really thinking about that.
Because you can't ever get those words back.
And they hurt, and they cut deep.
They do. And it can affect someone for the rest of their life. I mean, even when we are on masterminds together and we've been in things, and how many times we heard someone say, somebody who has said one sentence to someone and it has affected their whole life, right? From like high school or as a child, and it has affected them their entire life. You can't take back those words.
Well, even things we've shared that our parents have said to us that are
yeah.
still, we're in our 50s and it's still sitting on us like a rock.
Yeah.
They didn't mean anything. They were just doing what they were doing, but
Yeah.
I mean, we know how heavy that sits.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of two things when you guys said that, when you guys were both speaking, two things that stick with me and have forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mine's come right to my mind too. It's just.
I can think of when you said you were thinking of two, I'm sitting here thinking of the ones that have affected me, and that have been.
One of them too is the same thing about with me and with my insecurity about my looks and that kind of stuff. One of my it's what my ex-husband said to me when we divorced. He made said one sentence that has stuck by me for 25 years.
Yeah.
And was he just being mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And man, even us being the person, we could go back to that person and take those words back, but they don't erase.
No.
Like you can take them back, you can apologize, you can do all
the things, but you can't forget.
You cannot take those words back. And that saying that says words, what does it say? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but that is such an untrue statement. Because they will hurt you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They will wound you.
Yep.
That is such a that statement, I don't know who came up with that statement, but that statement is such a lie.
What is it? 67 might break my bones, but words never hurt me or something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whoever came up
Like,
with
I'd rather get punched in the face and
I
have words than I'm going to
Get over it.
Yes. I don't know whoever came up with that.
Yeah.
That is so not true.
No.
But this is the thing that's so interesting about that is I know people that, and I'm going to say this because the people that I can think of right now are men. So I don't know if this is different for men or women. But my brother, as an example, he never, like, those things never bothered him. He never saw himself unworthy. He never saw himself in a way. And I even said some horrible crap to him when I was a teenager. I think I called him the loser of the family at one point when we were teenagers, like some horrible shit. But it never bothered him. Like he is like one of those guys that is just so even, nothing bothers him. Everything just rolls right off. It's like he never sees himself as, he's very confident in himself, his abilities, and never had those kind. And so even when I'm like that, he kind of talks me off the cliff.
That is a rare find.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't know many people like that. I mean, so I'm just curious, what was the difference in the upbringing?
There was no difference.
That is the crazy thing.
I know.
Because
well, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. Because he was the first child, you know how the first child is like so coddled compared to the second or third child.
Okay.
But anyway,
that's what I was wondering.
But also, I feel like boys were treated different than girls. I was also a very emotional child too, so I think that I just expressed a lot of more emotion than Brian did. I don't know what that was, but
well, and I think sometimes as girls, so because I can feel this, I feel this with you. I think as females, our emotions sometimes are not validated, especially as little girls. Sometimes we hear, "Oh, you're just too emotional."
Yes,
you just need stop crying. You're too emotional. And when our emotions are not validated as a young girl, that affects us.
Yes, it does.
And women are emotional, and we are supposed to be. We're created. 100%.
Yes.
And so when we discount that, and then all of a sudden we go inward and we hold those emotions in, that is not normal. We are created more emotional than men.
I'll never forget. I had a female boss when I was in my early 30s, and she said, because she was a very successful businesswoman. She was a sales manager or the executive, the VP of the sales for my department. And I was her sales assistant at the time. And she said to me when we would go into these meetings, she was trying to mentor me, and she said, "Do not show emotion. As a female, if you show emotion in a room full of men, it makes you look unstable." And so, that coupled with, I think I told you guys the story of me being in group therapy when I was in my early 20s, and I actually was trying to keep it together because it was all guys, and it was court ordered, so that just tells you something. But I cried. I broke down and just broke into tears at one point, and they all got mad at me for doing it because they said, "What do you think you're going to solve in this group? You're not going to solve anything in here. I don't know why you're getting all emotional." And I was, like, get it together. So it's like those kinds of things that people say to you over time.
Yes.
I always felt like showing emotion made you look bad as a female. You're supposed to be male-like, be like a man because they're successful, and don't be emotional because it makes you look bad or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the kind of messaging you get.
Hence why women, we dumb down our femininity.
Yep.
Right. And we become more masculine, and we don't nurture that feminine side of us.
100%.
And
that is not our true nature.
No.
And men are actually more attracted to us with our feminine.
They are.
Yep.
We're so used to not being in that role.
We're not.
And it's like that conversation we had with Christine where she was talking about that. That really resonated with me because that is something I have struggled with.
That's a true woman's nature.
Yeah.
So it's who we are.
Yep.
And that's why you do resonate with that, because that's how we're created.
But then for many of reasons, abuse and all the other things that have come because we are women, also makes us hide. And like it's something to be shameful of.
Yeah, and then as we, in my own story, we then, after going through things like that early on in our life, then we find ourselves in relationships that I put myself in situations that I then made it worse for myself, and then I chose to stay in relationships like that didn't serve me. And, I just made it worse.
Yep.
And I'm taking accountability on my part. I played a part in that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the other person. I have to own my part in that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's true.
I think too that I had a thought when you were talking and then I just lost it. Can't think of it. I had a thought when you were talking, and I just lost it, left my mind. But I think too we also have to have some grace. We all have reactions and allow reactions to affect things that we do. And we all have had moments where, like, I wish I didn't say, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I could take that back. If you have awareness around it, especially, where you're saying, why did I react that way? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And you can recognize it in yourself. Like, I could have handled that differently.
We've all done that.
Yeah. So I think have a little bit of grace for yourself, because we are human. We are not perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. There is no perfect. So I feel like, if you've said something or done something that was a reaction to somebody else that you disagree with in your life, then it's okay to recognize that maybe you could have handled it differently and have some grace for yourself around that. And you can decide how you deal with it after that. But, let's not beat each other up over the fact that we say things and do things sometimes that we're not proud of or would have handled differently if in a different state or something,
Well, and that's when we can always be thankful for people in our life, because people are just a mirror for us. You know what I mean? People really are. Like, sometimes people just reflect things about ourselves, and that is a gift. You know what I mean? That is a gift. If we're willing to see it, you know what I mean? If we're willing to go, wow. But then what we do is we don't shame ourselves. Then we just say, okay, I am just going to, and then we have grace for ourselves and we just acknowledge it. And then we move on. We just move on. And that is it.
And you know what? You can stop mid-sentence and apologize too. You know what I mean? And something that my husband and I actually have been guilty of, we were talking about this weekend, is almost avoiding people that think differently than us versus
engaging with them.
Yes, we love these people. But it's uncomfortable or a topic.
What can they teach me? Yes, 100%.
Yep.
I tell the girls at the prison, I said, you know what? I challenge you to go pick a partner that you have nothing in common with, because you're going to learn something about yourself. Because when we engage with people that we have something in common with, we're not going to grow. It's just comfortable because we just reflect back to each other things about ourselves. But when you find someone that you don't have something in common with, it could be different beliefs. It could be lots of things. We're going to learn something about ourselves, and that's uncomfortable, but there's a lot of growth there.
And you'll always find somebody that agrees with you, right? And those are the people you're going to be drawn to. But what about the ones that don't?
Right.
Yeah, that should be the challenge for the week.
It should be. And then when you feel a little ruffled and you're like, ooh, this is bugging me, stop in that moment and say, what is it about me? Not them. What is it about me that this is bringing up about me? Because that's the challenge for me is like I said, I've mentioned to you guys a lot of times when it's people at work and there's something coming up, it always goes back to this victim thing. You know what I mean? And it's always related to that. And I have to be mindful that that's what it is. But I played a victim for many, many years. So it was showing me something about me. But then, sometimes it brings up things that still kind of trigger me sometimes when with my mom sometimes, and I have to be aware of that. And so, but it's always with me. It's never with the person. It's with me. It's reflecting something within me. And it's we talk about that shadow side of us, right? And the more that I don't want to acknowledge that side of me, the more it's going to come up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, I'm just going to acknowledge that it's there, and just acknowledge that it's there. The more, the moment you acknowledge it, the more that's when you start to overcome it.
Well, this past week, I was at a conference, and for a minute, I was feeling a little left out of the crowd, maybe. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Like, really? But the old me would have kind of sat in that and felt sorry for myself. And I'm like, you're just being ridiculous, and move on. You know what I mean? But I did. But I'm just grateful again for the awareness that I was able to like immediately go there and go, okay, what are you doing? Like, stop being a baby. It's fine. Yeah. But I was having a little bit of FOMO, feeling a little left out. And I was like, okay, you're being ridiculous. And I moved on. But I'll admit it, it was there for a minute, but it wasn't there for a day. It was literally there for a minute because I recognized it. I brushed off my knees.
And in that moment, you had the option to choose right then. What are you going to do in this moment, right?
Yep.
And we all have that opportunity.
I was going to say, too, something you just said resonated with me, Kimberly, which is that you feel like you were being a baby because you were feeling that way. And I think it's important to not think about those kinds of things because you're not a baby. It's not a baby. It's not baby behavior. There was just something insecure about you in that moment that you were feeling. And I have those feelings, too, sometimes when I'm at those events. But it's not a weakness. It's just awareness, like you said. So it's not like, why am I not being strong enough to handle this and being tough? Yeah. No. You're allowed to feel that way sometimes if you're in that environment and not feel like there's something wrong with you. It's just a feeling that comes up, but it's not about being a baby.
Well, and that's when you have to remember that little girl, Kimberly, in that picture, and love her at that moment and say, you know what? She needed love at that time, and I'm going to love her. I'm going to love her, and I'm going to love her well. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got the screamer downstairs, so I'm muting. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's so true,
because that has been something that I've been focusing on too when I go to these networking events, is to not have a feel like I have to act a certain way.
Yeah,
because that has held me back from feeling very insecure, just like you were talking about, Kimberly. Because if I'm standing there by myself and everybody's kind of coupled up or talking, and I don't know them, then all of a sudden I'm feeling weird about it. But I don't feel weird about it anymore. I just go in there, and if I'm by myself, I'm by myself. I'm not worried about somebody going, well, who's the girl by herself over there? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't she engaging? I'm like, not doing that.
Nobody's even thinking that. No, nobody gives a shit.
Nobody's even thinking
Nobody's thinking it. It's us. Me. Exactly.
All us.
So it was just
so crazy.
I'm like, all right, put on your big girl pants. It's okay.
It's so crazy what we do to ourselves.
It is.
Yep.
It is. Well, this is good. This is the topic that I think is important because it's something that we're dealing with, and I think it's important to have those. Decide, like you said, like you guys said, decide if you want to have the conversation. If you don't want to have the conversation, how there's some people in your life, no matter what conversation you have, they're not going to engage in a healthy way. You're like, I'm out. Don't have the conversation. So it's like, that's okay. We're not forcing you to have conversations. We're saying don't not have a conversation because you're worried about the other person disagreeing or whatever. It's
especially if it's relationships that are worth preserving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if those relationships are worth preserving, you've got to find a way to find the courage to have it.
We need to go back to teaching debate. We need debate. We need what we took back in the day when we were doing debate class, when we were standing up and debating points that were not disrespectful and stuff. We need to start teaching that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always avoiding the speech. That was me. Don't make me get up and talk in front of everybody. But we also have to remember that negativity, right? That raises ratings. That people love that stuff. And we have to be mindful of that. Yes. Like we talked about the intent. What is their intent in this? Is it to get a rise out of me? Because now that's going to get that, even in these social media posts.
Yeah, it's like clickbait.
you can keep it going and going and going, and just meaner and meaner and meaner and meaner. But I guarantee you, you're face to face with those people, they're not going to be talking that way.
And you also got to be aware of because you also got to be aware of, and we should talk about some of this sometime, is, trauma responses as like passive aggressiveness. Like you got to be aware of if you're engaging in that, you know what I mean? Like if you're having these conversations, but then just being a little sarcastic and passive aggressive, like you got to be aware of your own ways of communicating. So, like Michelle said earlier, we have to be aware of our own emotional intelligence and our ways of communicating. And there's ways of getting help with communication. There's so many ways of getting help with that and getting mentored on that,
And if you're just not feeling it that day for whatever reason, take a step back. You know what I mean? And just recognize that I'm just not in a good headspace today. And that's okay.
And it's okay to tell people, you know what, I'm feeling some type of way. And I think that maybe we should talk in 1 or 2 days.
Yep.
And that is okay. To sleep on it for a night, get yourself settled down before you have that conversation. Those are boundaries that you're setting, and that is, and those should be respected.
And it doesn't matter your age either. My client I was telling you about, there was a day he was just yelling and screaming at me. And I just told him, you know what? Sounds like you're having a really bad day. I know this isn't about me, but I don't want to be, part of this conversation. So I'm going to hang up, let you take care of you, and I'll call you back tomorrow.
Well, and you know what? If you give it 24 hours, things become less important.
Oh yeah. You give it 10 minutes, sometimes it becomes
the next day. Yeah, you're usually not saying the same things or talking about the same thing you would if you were in the height of the emotion. The next day, you're probably not even going to say the same thing.
Although the next day he thought, because I could tell he was acting a little strange, he was worried that I was mad at him. I said, you know what? I'm never going to be mad at you. I said, you are not going to, drive me away no matter how hard you try, and he just kind of chuckled and we moved on. But it's like, geez, this is an 84-year-old man.
Well, and it's interesting that you said that, because the shame hit him. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden he was feeling kind of shame now, because maybe what I said, he was feeling bad. And that's exactly why people need to walk away, because then all of a sudden that shame hits them. And if you just disengage for 24 hours, there's not, you're going to avoid all of that stuff on both sides, right?
You're like, good try. Can't get rid of me that easily.
Right. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry about it. Yep. Yeah. It's going to take more than that.
No, this was good, because I think there's so many people dealing with this right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our recommendations are to disengage with social media and all the negativity. It doesn't have to be social media. It could be wherever you're seeing negative crap going on. And, just really doing some deep, I think we always have the same theme, like look at yourself, kind of, do a check-in with yourself. What are you feeling? Why do you think you're feeling it? Do some self-investigation, if you will,
Yeah.
Well, but we've all done the work, and we're still working every day. Yeah. But the three of us here 3 years ago, this would have been a very different podcast.
It would have been really scary.
It would have been like this. It would have been, forget you guys. This is like slamming the door. No.
Right. Exactly. But it's, it's.
I only felt powerful back in the day if I was expressing anger. Because I did not want to be vulnerable, and I did not want anybody to try to take advantage of me or anything. So anger was a very, very comfortable emotion for me. And I still have it too, sometimes now, but I'm much better than I used to be. But I was very comfortable in that space.
Yeah. Me too. And it's a protective measure is what it is. It's a way you're protecting yourself.
It is protective.
I was talking to somebody the other day about my little girl inside, and it's like, well, what was that role? What was it, to protect me? What was it, to harm me? And it's like, well, it was to protect me, obviously.
It was protective until it harmed. Right?
Exactly.
It was protective, and then it became.
And now I don't need you to protect me anymore.
Right, because then it became painful.
Yep.
And it really was not protecting anymore. It was causing harm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a girlfriend back in the day when my early 20s, when I used to be going to bars and stuff like that, not in a healthy way, but I would run my mouth at bars and get us almost into bar fights kind of scenario. We never got into physical fights, but I probably should have gotten punched a few times based on the things that I said. But the famous line was, we'd have to back out of the bar with the pool cue, and I had to make sure Michelle wasn't going to attack me at the same time. She was behind me. It's like, that's like that persona you have for yourself. And people still talk about it. My friend group that I still have friends from back in high school, and they still talk about it. That's how bad it was. I mean, we're now in our 50s, and they still bring it up on occasion.
Well, my ex-husband, we were out at a bar one time, and he was starting some stuff with this girl, and he was telling her, "You better knock it off, or my wife is going to kick your ass." And I looked at her and I go, "I ain't doing nothing." So, and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Don't be putting that on me. Like, don't be thinking I'm going to be kicking anybody's butt."
Crazy. I know. Our youth.
Woo.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. And hopefully you got something from this episode. Like, subscribe, share it with somebody if you feel like it's a conversation we're sharing.
I want to put out a challenge.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
For everybody to have a conversation with somebody that you normally wouldn't, that you think does not think the same way that you think, does not believe the same things that you believe. I think we should challenge everybody to have a conversation, and it'll be okay.
Without killing each other, you mean?
Right. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
And you may learn a thing or two.
Yeah. And if that seems too hard to do, my challenge would be to put your hand on your heart, take 3 or 4 deep breaths, and close your eyes and send love to someone who bothers you. That always helps me.
Send positive energy.
Send positive energy and love to someone who bothers you, and see if that doesn't change something. Yeah, it's not easy, but it will change. It will change something within you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I do that every day.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's intentional and it's a practice.
It is. It is.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. See you next time.
Bye.
Take care.